pay a lot of attention to our physical body. We pay a lot of attention to our mental body, but very seldom do people recognize that we have this energetic body.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host. My name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Lindsay McComas, the Dharma and spiritual life coach and Reiki practitioner. Welcome to the show, Lindsay. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you. I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here. As you know, this is my first time being on a podcast, and I'm just really grateful and excited to share space with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes through.
Oh, I'm so excited as well because one of the topics that we're going to talk about is chakras, which is one of my most favorite topics ever to talk about because I can talk about it for hours. So I'm just so excited that we will get to talk about it and about other things as well. But I would love to start with a little bit of a backstory of yours, your journey. How did you experience your awakening, or maybe how did you find your path as a Dharma and spiritual life coach and Reiki practitioner? Please share a little bit about yourself with us.
Wow. Yeah. So for me, my spiritual journey really began about 10 years ago. And I was in my first year of college, and I met this girl that became a really good friend over that year. And she was from India. And she actually invited me to go back to India with her. And I was really excited. I've always been somewhat of an adventure seeker, and I've always wanted to just see the world. And India was a place that had always piqued my interest. And her mom came and visited for about a month, and I got to know her, and I talked to my family, and obviously they weren't actually really excited about this decision that I had made, but I had made it. And so they were supportive. And so I went to India. I was supposed to only be there for a couple of weeks, and it was going to be a trip where we did sort of all the touristy things, the Taj Mahal, visiting Goa, and lots of anything else you can imagine, Bombay and Delhi. And we had this long list of different things that we were going to do and places that we were going to see. And actually, when we arrived, I learned that she originally had told me she lived in Bombay. And as soon as we arrived, I learned that she actually lived in another place in India called Ahmedabad. And things just started to spiral. So there was obviously a lot of lies, a lot of red flags, and things changed. So about a week in, things started to get really scary, and they stopped speaking to me in English. And they had actually canceled my plane tickets at some point. And when I was supposed to go, yeah, it got crazy. There was actually I would talk to my family every day. And at some point, when things started to get, just scary, I guess, for lack of a better word, because I just didn't know what the intention was. I didn't know why they had lied in the first place, and why my friends started treating me differently. And we were traveling and going to visit all these different temples. And one night I had to sleep on a tile floor. Like, they wouldn't let me sleep in a bed. And my friends stopped communicating with me. And when I would talk to my family, they would be standing right there around me. And at some point, my parents started to notice things were a little bit weird. And so they would ask, like, are you okay? And kind of these like yes and no questions. And I'd be like, no, I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, I never really shared a lot. And so when I got off the phone, one of the evenings, the mom took the phone and said, you've been speaking to your family in code. Like, you're no longer going to speak to your family again. And so they took the phone from me. And I won't go into the story of how the plane ticket and all of that kind of stuff went down. But basically, it came time for me to leave, where my trip would have been coming to an end, and they weren't going to take me to the airport. I didn't have a ticket at this point, apparently. And they told me that I'd be raped and murdered if I tried to leave, because there was nobody to protect me. There was nobody to take me to the airport. And so I was there for another 2 weeks, I want to say. And I didn't get to call home. My family was obviously a nervous wreck, as you can imagine. And I wasn't eating at the time. I pretty much shut down. Like my face was broke out at that time. I'd never had acne before, and I was like covered in acne. I was skinny as a rail, and I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I had Ambien actually, and so I was taking Ambien at night. But yeah, I had no idea what their intention was for me and why I was even there in the first place. And so at some point, I got the nerve to sneak into the father's room and take a phone. I think it was my phone. This was again like over 10 years ago, and I called my dad, and it was the daytime there, middle of the night in India. And I could tell like it was like a version of my dad I've never seen or heard before. He was just he was screaming, and he told me to put her on the phone, and I won't use the language, and and I don't even know how. I've never seen that side before, and I'll never see it again, hopefully. And at that point, I had told him where I was. He knew their name, so he had enough to at least put fear under them and tell him that he knew where I was and he'd be on the next plane, and he'd, be contacting the embassy and all kinds of stuff. And so long story short, I got home, and this story, I mean, that's like a nutshell. I could have talked about, there's so much that I could add, but just to give you a little insight into how it all started for me, because when I got home, I wasn't the same person that I was before I left. And I was so grateful. And I just had this new sort of lease on life. And I actually dropped out of school, and I was home for a little while. I started an art gallery, and eventually that wasn't fulfilling for me, and I wanted to go back to school. I went back to school, and at the time I was working with a therapist and still trying to process what had happened, because even though nothing that I know of, like I don't remember everything super vividly, but nothing physically happened to me, my body went into fight or flight because I was so afraid of like what was going to happen to me. And so after India, I never had a menstrual again, up until 2 years ago. So I didn't have a menstrual. And then not long after, I actually developed an eating disorder that was pretty bad. I was bulimic for like 3 years, where it was like consuming my life, and then on either end, where I was doing the work to try to get out of this really dark place. And so I had a therapist, I had a coach. I fell in love with yoga, and I started doing all the healing. And so now looking back on that journey, I always say it's like, I'm so grateful for that experience. And so I just think of it as like a part of my story, a part of my path that led me to who I am. Because had India not ever happened, had I never met this girl, had I never, developed the eating disorder, I would have never had the relationship that I have now with food. I would have never had the gratitude that I have for life. I would have never been on this path to discovering who I am. And I maybe would have never found yoga and all of the things. So it's like, it was the path that led me to me, and I'm so grateful. But it was definitely, there were some really challenging years, to say the least.
Oh my God. Oh my God, this is such a crazy story. Honestly, when you were saying, yeah, I went to India, I'm thinking, yeah, you probably, meditated with the guru and learned about chakras and everything
Ooh,
was
I wish.
sweet. And oh no, it is such a crazy story. Oh my God, I didn't even know that this happens in terms of like, people making friends with you and then taking you to their country, to their family, and then like completely turning around and like, what the hell? I've literally never
Yeah.
heard of something like that, and it's just so deceptive. I mean, I am shocked by this story. Honestly, I'm super shocked, but it's just a good way to remind people that, okay, like, trust your guts, like, always check in with yourself, with your heart, with your body, whether it's fully safe, whether there is no red flags, because surely there had to be some red flags that you were just not paying attention to because you were not set up for people deceiving you or whatever, right? Like surely afterwards you might have thought, or maybe this is the next question to you, like did you look back and did you think like, oh my god, like now I can see what the red flags were when we were still friends, but I just didn't pay attention to it? Like did you notice something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, you know, I've gone back and forth with a lot of different questions to myself, and and there's even things that like, did I do something to? This was what was big in the beginning. Now, not so much. Like I've overcome it, but I feel like there was a few years right after where I felt like I maybe triggered this response in them, like from maybe not being culturally sound, for lack of a better word. Like maybe I did something that offended them. I didn't know if like maybe I triggered it, but then obviously now looking back, it's like, no, they lied to me about everything. Like didn't even live where they said that they lived. So um, it's kind of crazy because I feel like now I'm guided by my intuition and I'm so connected to it. And I feel like I help people connect to their intuition and train their intuition. But I guess I wasn't really connected to it at that point in my life because I don't know that I had the red flags. And there might have been a part of me that was just young and just really wanted to see that part of the world. And like I had this friend, and maybe, sometimes I even wonder if it was even really her or if it was something that kind of was forced on her to act in this particular way. It was 5 years later she sent me a message and apologized. It took her 5 years, but and she wrote me and said she was really sorry for everything that happened, and she didn't give me a lot of explanation as to what it was about or why it happened. But I sometimes wonder if like how in on it she even was, because we were really good friends. And so I'm not sure. That's a good question. And I just went on the healing journey and didn't really look back that much, because when I started getting up here with it, I didn't have the answers because I don't know what their intentions were, and I never will.
Yeah, I can imagine, but it had to be like so traumatic, and you probably ask yourself so many questions about this in the past that it could be quite tiring to just keep asking the questions. But now, the most important thing is that you know that now it wouldn't happen anymore. Because honestly, like I've had also a situation where I was quite manipulated, and by a person who was kind of let's say claiming to be more like a spiritual guru, right? Like a teacher, like a spiritual guide, and so on. And now I know that I would never, like I would always see this through, right? So you would always probably see this through as well right now after you've gone through it. And sometimes I feel like it is important to go through an experience like that, because then you already know. And of course it's not fun when you're in it, but as you said, it's a part of the journey that actually shaped who you are right now and has led you to where you are right now. So this is actually great, looking back, right? Because it's probably not great for the past self of you, but now it has probably given you the experience of like feeling into and sensing if something is not okay. So but wow, like I'm literally blown away by this story, and it's great to share it, really, because then like people can really pay attention. And that's why it's so important to lead people to connect to their intuition, to connect to their guts. Because if you have a gut feeling, if you have an intuitive feeling, if you connect to your heart, you will know straight away. And of course, if you're like young and you don't really know what you're doing yet, or you're just your adventurous vibe overrides everything else, right? I'm similar,
Mhm.
so I can totally relate to that. I should have a tattoo on my forehead called adventure. But yeah, I believe that that's why we need to share like how to connect to ourselves more, to then know like what we're standing on, and to be yeah, to just be in alignment. And so yeah, but I also believe that our souls are guiding us to these kind of situations, even if they are traumatic, to then get out of it and to then realize who we are and to put us on the path of healing. So as you beautifully said, like it's a part, it has shaped you, so it's actually a blessing in disguise that it has
Mm,
happened
yeah,
right
very
now,
much so.
you can say. Amazing. And so I would like to chat about my favorite topic, which is chakras. And what i
Yes.
what I really want to talk about, because I mean, maybe some people don't know what chakras are, so maybe you can just briefly mention it. But I guess most of the people do know. But for these guys that don't know, what is the chakra?
The root chakra is it's a really important one. It's a big one. It's tied to a lot of our history and our roots. If you think about our family and our upbringing and any sort of trauma that we might have experienced as a young child, all of that lives there. It also is tied to anything around security and safety and stability. And so a lot of things like finances and our ability to um, have an abundance mindset. If we have an abundance mindset, then we might have a balanced root. But if you have fear and anxiety, and if you have limiting beliefs around abundance, or if you have a lot of trauma that's unresolved, then you might have some imbalances in your.
Absolutely. And I also realized that a lot of shame and guilt can be stored in the root as well, just because it's very close to our sexual organs. And of course, religion and stuff and society is just shaming everyone for, showing their naked body. So I really realized that there is a lot of shame. And also, it's quite interesting because I am very much into Enneagram typology. This is a typology of personality. And I really realized that the personalities that are more shy and withdrawn and introverted often would have an imbalance on this chakra, because there is just so much shame stored that people would have physical issues, for example, with their sexual organs. And I'm just realizing, like, wow, it's actually really so much interconnected. So I found guilt, shame can be stored in the first chakra too, and yeah, all kinds of fears, because like obviously some people even feel fear in the legs, right? Like the legs shake when you are scared. And this is a very nice, I mean, nice way to release it actually, to shake, because animals shake when they are feeling fear, so you can shake it off. But I found that a lot of just, yeah, a lot of guilt, shame, and fear about, like, and everything that you mentioned, like abundance, and whether we're gonna have a, it's kind of like a survival mode, because the first chakra is about our physical body. So physical body, so everything really, whether I'm gonna have food, whether I'm gonna have shelter, whether I'm gonna have family, because like the belonging is also very much, and the tribe is very much linked to the first chakra as well. So if you don't feel like you belong, you feel like you don't have place in this world, then you also might have an imbalance, because you don't feel like you are here on earth. And the first chakra is connected with the roots to the earth. So if you feel like, you know there is no place for me anywhere, I do not belong, then you might have imbalance. And it's actually two-way street, like in terms of, if you have an imbalance, you're gonna feel in a certain way, but also if you feel in a certain way, you might have an imbalance. So it's like, depending, of course, if you choose your emotions consciously, or if it's just an automatic programming, right? You can shift the way of how your chakra is working, because if you and that's why I wrote a chakra meditation as well, myself, and the short version is on YouTube. I think it's on Karolina Kuraj, on my Polish YouTube channel. And this is like, actually, like, imposing emotions so that you can activate the energy centers, so that these emotions, the positive emotions, transform the stuck negative emotions that are there in the chakra. So that's why I always like to look at the feelings that you can feel, as you mentioned, like stability, groundedness, presence as well. I feel like first chakra is about presence, about being here and now, and being here on earth, grounded, right? So standing on both of your feet, like really feeling yourself being here. And it's like the opposite for people who sometimes have too much of a activation in their higher chakras, right? They are so much in the spirit world, but then they don't have these roots, and then they can go crazy a little bit, or have visions of something, because they just have don't ground enough. And so our first chakra, the base chakra, um it's just really about how we feel like we are here on earth, how earth supplies everything that we need, supplies all our meets all our survival needs. Because honestly, like, we could just live in the forest, take some berries from the bush and just sleep under the sky, and we're gonna be fine. Drink the water from the rivers, we would be fine. Earth provides everything. But honestly, in our society, it's just not as easy to feel that, because we are just like surrounded by, oh, you need to make more money, you need to live in a beautiful house, eat the most amazing food, and so on. So I guess it's like maybe harder for us to feel the real truth that we are held by Mother Earth, and we would be fine even if we didn't have almost anything, right? So I feel like, yeah, that's all I have
Absolutely.
to share about the first chakra so far. Do you have anything more to add to the first one, or should we go to the next?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. It's our survival center. And so it's just really important to do things that do ground you here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Putting your feet on the grass and, walking around barefoot and, yoga is really great for the first chakra. Eating root vegetables is really a great way to ground yourself. And, but no, I think that was great.
Perfect. Then let's go to the next one, sacral.
The sacral, yeah. So that's our passion and our creative center. And so that's connected to our sensuality, our connection to our body. And I also would say shame and guilt can live here as well. It's also where we are, it's our birthing center. So it's where we birth human life, but it's also where we birth ideas and businesses and creative projects. And so a block here could be something like a creative block. Obviously, that's a pretty easy one. Or maybe if there's issues around shame in the bedroom, or shame with your body, and not feeling connected to yourself or your body, not being able to. I want to say, like, I don't know where I'm going with this. So I was going to say, like, embodiment dancing, I was going to say, is just a really good way to sort of open the chakra,
Mm-hmm.
and balance it if you are disconnected to your body, just like tapping into that space.
Absolutely, because it's like a, yeah, it's like an embodiment center. It's also the sensual, in a way it's linked to the throat as well, because it's creativity and all these things are linked to the throat chakra as well. So if you're expressing yourself freely and sexually and creatively, then this center is affected. And it's pretty interesting how sexuality and creation is connected, because like obviously through sexuality we create life, but also through sexual energy we create stuff. Like sexual energy is just another form of energy that we can use and just like activate it in our first and second center. And I found that, actually for men, their genitals are closer to the first chakra. That's why they are so like, let's say, physically attracted, right? And for women, we have a womb that closer to the second chakra, so we are attracted to how we feel emotionally, because the second chakra is more of an emotional center. So then we need to feel good, we need to sense, we need to be in our vibe, in our passion, in our sensuality, in order to actually feel attracted to a man, I found, because we need to be emotionally connected, we need to feel the emotional connection. Whereas for a man, like, sometimes they do not need it to connect sexually with someone else. So I think it's quite interesting to kind of like relate it to men and women, how we are built in a way. And I feel like, yeah, for me the sacral chakra is also, sometimes with my friends we call it actually we have our own names for chakras that are quite funny, because our first chakra is ass chakra, and the second chakra is the kid chakra, or child chakra, because like it's kind of like when you
Child chakra.
feel so joyful, like as a kid, when you're like having so much pleasure and fun, like you activate this chakra, and also the third one, because when you laugh the third one is also activated. But this is to
Hmm.
me the chakra of a little inner child, like when you go on a swing, and when you swim, and when you're just like full of joy and full
Hmm.
of excitement for life, and full of pleasure just because you live. This is what can activate it really, really well, because yeah, it's also like a creative childlike vibration, right? Creativity, like
Yeah, it
going and
is.
just building something from the sand, or how kids do.
Hmm.
They free flow. And also I feel like this is a chakra that is somehow related to how we relate to others, somehow related to relationships, and also our relationship to money, our relationship to authority, and so on. Because it's forming after, like, okay, I have a tribe. Now, how do I relate to them? In a way. So for me, this is also kind of interconnected. And yeah, as you said, I found also guilt, shame can be stored there, fear, a lot as well. But any other emotion, like honestly, like I feel like emotions are stored everywhere in the body. It's not like you can point that, okay, in this chakra is this emotion. It's more like if
Hmm.
like it's all interconnected anyway, but we're just trying to point out so that people more or less know how it all works. And this chakra is the color orange, and you also have some beautiful like oils you can use um, to open it or to activate it, to balance it. And also some, if you eat an orange, obviously you're gonna open
Hmm.
it up. You eat all kinds of orange stuff. And so yeah, it's pretty great. So do you
Yes.
have anything more to add to the sacral chakra?
Yeah, no, I'll just add, I mean, you nailed it. And I agree. It's kind of like the childlike, and when we can bring out our inner child and just play, that's a really great way to balance this chakra. Also, obviously, energy work and crystals. I used orange crystals, tangerine, quartz, and such is really good to place on that chakra. Um, and yeah, dancing and anything that just makes you feel really good in your body and connected to your body and to joy, true joy, can really help to balance this chakra.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Swadhisthana.
love this chakra. I love this chakra. I freaking love this chakra. Okay,
Mm,
so we are coming to the third one, solar plexus.
yes, the solar plexus, which is yellow. And the solar plexus is it's a there I say it's a big one. They're all really important. But the solar plexus is really our sense of self. So it's where our ego lies. It's our self-esteem. It's, are we connected to ourself? Are we connected to our purpose and why we're here on earth? And so do we know who we are? And so I feel like it's one of the chakras when I'm doing Reiki that I feel like a lot of stuff comes up very often because there is this. That's where, when we have so much conditioning and we don't really know who we are, then a lot of work is required on this particular area. And it can also be related to a lot of stomach issues. So a lot of gut issues and such would live in this chakra if it's imbalanced. And as we know, a lot of people struggle with gut issues. Um, and a lot of that has to do with this stuck energy and this disconnection from ourself, our true self.
Absolutely. And I feel like a lot of unworthiness and kind of like, yeah, just feeling not enough. And all these things are in this chakra. And also, I feel like I had digestive issues and I Exactly. And I feel like because you cannot digest some situations in your childhood, you kind of cannot digest also the energy that is stuck in you. And so I had issues with my guts and with my stomach. And so I can see that it was about like how I felt because I had an abandonment wound in childhood. So I couldn't digest that my parent left, right? And I don't have my dad in my life anymore. So then of course, it kind of like got stuck in the stomach because I was feeling like maybe it's my fault, maybe it's something about me, and my sense of self was disturbed. And of course, some other issues came there as well, like kind of unwillingness to, um, I don't know, to admit to this reality or to agree to this reality that this is how it is right now, or just not, or confusion. I feel like confusion can also be in the solar plexus and in the throat chakra. Like, why is this happening? Like, completely shaking the sense of self that you have. And also, I feel like to the sacral chakra, I would add that it could be about letting go, because the guts, obviously, the intestines is like letting go. What can I let go of? And if you cannot let go, or if you cannot accept something, then it might be the issue in the sacral, because then the intestines would be affected, right? Because the intestines is the way how you let go of the food. So if you cannot let go, then you can have problems with your intestines. And so yeah, there's like a lot. We are of course just touching the tip of the iceberg here, because there is a lot we can talk about. But I feel like the powerlessness, because this is a center of power, of strength, the solar plexus, right? We can really feel like, if we feel the willpower, if we feel the sense of self, we feel the strength, we feel we can move on. But if we don't, if something is shaken, we feel hopeless, we feel powerless. Then all these things are stored usually in the solar plexus, and can make us, yeah. And also anger, I feel, because the liver is very much linked to anger, and it's around there as well. Usually the areas that are next to the chakras are affected by the blocks in the chakra specifically. So if you have issues with the spleen, with the liver, with the stomach, it's probably going to be the solar plexus that you need to focus on. But yeah, I feel like the main theme of that one is just the inner strength, the inner confidence, the knowing that things are going to work out and you're going to make it happen, that you are a creator, not a victim. Because the victimhood mentality is also what affects this chakra. If you feel like, oh no, why does it happen to me? And obviously this is what what shaped me, right? And my issues in the past, because I was like, why me? Like, why did dad leave me? Like, what happened? You know, why did he choose a different family and not me? So I feel like that's what I found that was stored in me. Ben, do you have anything to
Yeah.
add to this one?
No, that was great. I feel like to balance it, obviously energy work, sitting in meditation and contemplation and getting connected to who you are, yoga, nurturing yourself is a big one. And obviously anything that around therapy and just digesting and processing what you've been through and your emotions.
Absolutely. So
Eating
I
things that are yellow.
Oh yes, oh yes, I love that pineapple, banana, of course. And this
Hmm.
one with my friends, I think if I had to translate it, I think we would call it the chakra of a sneaky person, just because it's like, or like like a, um, yeah, or cheeky or something like that. I don't know. We have our own names. Then the next chakra that we call a chakra of a hugger, a person who hugs all the time, the heart chakra, our beautiful,
Mm,
most powerful center with the biggest electromagnetic field in our field. So let's talk about that.
yes, the heart. I'm a hugger. I'm a total hugger. And the heart is green. And yeah, it's all about love. It's are we able to love? How do we give love, receive love, self love? So anything that is related to our ability to love and receive love lives in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And as you've mentioned many times, like all of these energy centers are interconnected. And so um, by having self-esteem issues, obviously that's going to affect your heart. And I do work with clients often that their heart is closed. So if you've gone through a bad breakup or you've experienced loss, oftentimes we close our hearts. And so that's probably what I see the most common is that we just completely shut down and close ourselves off. And when we're not able to give ourselves love, and then we're not able to give love to others, and oftentimes then we also aren't receiving love either. We shut ourselves off from being able to even receive it. So the heart's a really big one because it definitely helps to kind of nurture all of these other areas as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, especially that the love is the most healing vibration and very, very powerful because we can love heals all, and it's true. It's
Love
not a
heals
cliche.
all.
It is true. And so when we have some walls on our hearts, then like it's hard to have a balance in the body in general. And through the heart, we can heal the whole body. I believe if we really focus on the chakra and really just focus on loving ourselves and loving others, and if we
Mhm.
open it more and more, we can really open ourselves up to healing. And so all these emotions about the other person, because it's kind of like a relationship chakra in a way, like grief, loss, as you mentioned, resentment towards someone, or forgiveness. If we cannot forgive someone, usually it's gonna be on the heart chakra, because like it's all about how we relate to others, whether we're gonna be able to give love freely or whether we give it conditionally, and how we also how we think of ourselves, as you mentioned before. And with the heart, I always give this example of my mom, who had asthma in childhood and then she didn't. And then when my parents got divorced, the asthma came back, and then it went away, and then my grandfather died and it came back again. So it's like if you have some grief, some loss, some sadness there about something going on in your life, you can have physical issues, in these organs that are linked to the chakra come back. And it could be chronic or it could be acute, right? It could be depending on what is going on for you. But it's like a beautiful example of how it can affect you when something is happening and the emotions are not processed, they are not expressed, they are not released from your body, they are suppressed, and then they are affecting your organs. So the heart is really, really freaking important. It transforms, love transforms everything that is not like love. So if we cannot love, we can have all kind of other health issues, because then if the love doesn't flow from our heart to our body, well, it can cause a massive imbalance. That's why people really focus on this chakra a lot, right? Open your heart, love yourself, and so on, because it's just really,
Mhm.
really crucial. So yeah, I feel like that's all I wanted
Yeah.
to share. Do you have anything to add to this one?
No, yeah. That was great. Doing heart openers and yoga and just kind of opening your heart. Those are all really good ways to work on opening this center. Green is the color of the heart. So eating things that are green, green crystals, um, and just, yeah, letting love in and doing the work to love yourself. So that way it can just continue to open and heal these other areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And asking yourself, what would someone who loves themselves do? That is a good way to remember, right? Like, what would love do?
Mhm.
Or what would Jesus do? If you're religious, you can ask yourself that. Whatever you want, just opening yourself up to love. Amazing. All right, so we have the next chakra, which in Polish we call it chakra bleble, because it's like about expression and about talking and about creativity as well and inspiration. So, what would you say about this one?
Yeah, so the throat is blue, and the throat is going to be any imbalance with communication, and you could be balanced as well. So I guess it's not always an imbalance, but we're kind of focusing on the imbalances. And so that would look like if you're a writer, it could be writer's block. You could anything to do with it's body language, it's the way that we communicate with our words, it's the way that we communicate in writing. So basically anything around communication, and that could also show up as somebody who lies. That would be an imbalance of the throat. Are you able to express truth? Are you able to articulate? Do you overshare? Are you afraid to speak? All of that it has is connected to the throat and whether it's balanced or imbalanced. And yeah, and again, they're all tied to each other. There's so much interconnectedness, and the throat is a really good place to use that example because let's say so for our third eye, if we were gonna, which we haven't even got there yet, but if we were gonna maybe we receive a download of this idea that is then birthed through our sacral, well, we have to bring it to life, usually through like the throat. So if it's a book, we might have the book idea, but to be able to actually write the book, it's going to have to come from the imbalance in our throat. So our throat would have to be balanced if we have writer's block. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yes, it
I don't
does.
know.
It
I'm like,
does. And it's about self-expression. So like whatever the block in self-expression is, right? Whether you're shy, whether you're scared of judgment, whether you are scared of public speaking or anything like that is a throat chakra block. And also when you feel like the life is not flowing, like it's not easy, like it's hard because I feel like I associate throat with ease. Like if everything is expressed, everything is flowing, it's easy and you're successful. Like the throat is the feeling of success, like yes, I've done it, like yes, I managed to make it happen, like yes, I can express myself, yes. And so if you feel like maybe something is not working out for you in your business or in your life and you feel like, oh no, like I'm not going to be successful or don't believe in yourself, self-worth issues could be on the throat as well, because it's like a block of, yeah, of expression and of truth, really, because the truth is we are all worthy. So if we have a block on the throat, it could be also that. And I feel like the big one is a fear of judgment in here, because when we judge, it's also our throat chakra energy. When we judge and when we are judged, it is closing our throat, whether like both ways, right? Because when we judge another person, we also judge ourselves. It's just, we are one anyway. So I feel like judgments and control, because like when we can just let go and make it flow with ease, and we believe everything is gonna just be successful and flowy and easy to express, then we don't need to control as much. But when it comes to control, I think throat could be it, and also the solar plexus, I feel, the control could be kind of sitting in there as in terms of an issue if it's like over controlling person. And yeah, I feel like maybe we've already touched upon the throat, but yeah, I feel like it's also about inspiration and creative flow, right? Because as you said, it comes from above, but then if it can be expressed, we need to feel inspired to create and to really speak up for ourselves and to hear our own voice, right? So singing could be good actually for the throat chakra, because it like opens up and it resonates. And yeah, so what else would you recommend for the throat?
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, singing. screaming even. I've actually even had clients, I've told them to get in their car and just scream, and just allow their self to scream. But singing is a great way to open the throat. Obviously speaking your truth, but that's hard to do when you have a closed throat. So that's why things like singing or oming or screaming, journaling, obviously it's another form of communication as well. So like writing out your thoughts can also be a really great way. Eating
Mm,
blueberries, for instance,
yeah.
working with different blue crystals or Reiki energy work is great for the throat.
Yeah, blueberries are also really great for the third eye, which is which is the next one. But I actually have a tiny story to share about the throat because I just want to depict how these emotions are interconnected and these things are interconnected that we're talking about here. Because once we had an experience with my ex-partner and my dear best friend, Ricky, and he told me because we were having a psychedelic experience and he felt like he can express anything to me, and he has expressed things that were bubbling up for him, and didn't feel safe to express. And after he expressed it all and he felt like I actually really received it and I was accepting of it rather than me not feeling enough after he said it, he felt like the most amazing feeling of fulfillment and success. Like he has felt like he
Mm-hmm.
has already arrived where he needs to be in life, like the feeling of fulfillment and success, which is quite weird because, just because he expressed something, the block from the throat was released, which is unrelated to his success or his fulfillment, right? And when he expressed it to me, he just felt like the release in the throat, and then the feelings of success and fulfillment and ease came. So, although it seems like it's not connected to each other, because it's all stored in one chakra, these feelings can come up as a result of expressing your emotions to the other person. So, I just wanted to bring this little story
Yeah.
because I think it really amazingly depicts how these chakras work. So, your, willpower can affect how you show up, whether you're confident or your ego can show, like, everything can be kind of interconnected with each other. So it's just nice to look at it holistically and all these different areas of the chakra, how you can improve and how you can make it balanced. So just wanted to share this little story. And now
Yeah.
we are going to the third eye, which we call the chakra of a third forehead, third forehead
I
chakra.
I did just want to say one other thing of the throat, just because you just kind
Sure.
of led me into another thought, and it relates to your partner expressing and there being fear around expression. So I think a lot of that too is just rooted in our survival. We have this generational or ancestral trauma, and it's like we are the fear that comes up when we speak. So like public speaking is such a big one because we're afraid of like what people will think of us, but it's really rooted in something much deeper and much I guess like our it's ancestral most of the time, where it's like if we were to do something that cast us out of the tribe, then we aren't going to be safe because we need the tribe to survive. And so, or maybe in a past life we spoke our truth and we were killed for it, so that would cause us to be afraid to speak our truth in this experience, even though we're obviously safe here. It's not the same. But so once somebody actually is able to express themselves and realize, oh, I'm safe, nothing happened, and it actually felt really good, and I was heard and I was held, then that's a beautiful way to open the throat, because now they know moving forward, they have evidence that if I speak my truth, I will survive, I will be okay. And so our nervous system then doesn't hold us back from sharing and speaking our truth. So anyway, I just wanted to
Mhm.
share that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful example. Thank you so much for sharing. So the third forehead chakra, which is really the third eye.
Yes, the third eye. So that is where our intuition lives, as well as our ability to visualize, our ability to dream. So whether that's in a dream state or whether that's like in the ability to actually dream up your ideal life, visioning. And so, if you're being led through a meditation? Are you able to go there? Can you actually see yourself in the visualization? All of that is connected to the third eye. And psychedelics are a really great way to open the third eye as well. So that's that's something that I have noticed in my work with medicine, is that it always blasts my third eye open, and I have really vivid dreams, and I'm much more. It's also a creative center too, I would say. Like, I feel like we get a lot of ideas in our third eye, and it's our intuition. So, are we connected to our intuition? Obviously, when I was my first year of college and I decided to go to India, probably not. I probably had a blocked third eye. Whereas now I feel very much connected to my third eye, and I let it really guide me, that in my heart, which again, they're interconnected. But yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's about imagination as well, because sometimes our soul, the language of the soul can be also imagination, not necessarily words, or not necessarily feelings, also the visions. And so I feel like also the ability to make your vision come true in this life, and to believe that you can make it true, also is linked to the third eye. And I feel like a lot of people who have had some crazy experiences, for example, like ghosts, or some, like, metaphysical stuff that was not making them feel safe, can have block on the third eye, because they're like, okay, I don't want to see all this crazy stuff, all this paranormal things going on, and then they can get scared and they can close off. I feel like it affects the third eye a lot, because this is kind of like seeing beyond our senses. It's our sixth sense, it's our intuitive sense. So if we don't want to see beyond what is here, what is material, what is only with our five senses, right, then we can just close off from it. And also I felt like sometimes the frustration can be stored in the third eye, sometimes the grief can even be stored in the third eye, depending on what was the situation, how it was closing off. But yeah, I agree that it's about the vision, it's about the seeing beyond and trusting our intuition as well, because if we trust it, if we have clarity where we are going, then we obviously go with our intuition, right? There is clarity. Only the mind creates confusion, and the confusion can be on the throat, can be on the third eye as well, because if we don't have clarity, like, okay, I know where I'm going, then it's affecting our third eye as well. So yeah, the crown chakra now, which we call chakra Wi-Fi.
These are great. So the crown chakra. So the crown is our connection to a higher power. It's our connection to God, the universe. It's our connection to ourself, our soul self, capital S. And an imbalance here would be a disconnect from feeling like there is a higher power, from feeling like there is that we are not a soul being, that we are not a divine being, as we are, because we are all one. And so praying would be a really great way to open this chakra. Meditation and sitting in contemplation are all ways to really connect with yourself, to connect with the universe, to connect with God. And I think even self-study and doing the healing work, and peeling the layers of all the other chakras really continues to open you up more, so that way you can feel this freedom and this truth and this connection to source.
Absolutely. And when it's closed, you can actually have even headaches, because it's just an
Yeah.
imbalance when you feel like there's nothing more than this physical life, right? Because there is so much more. And I feel like the silence can also open this chakra a lot, because then in silence, you can really feel that you are not the thoughts and you are not the emotions, that these experiences are just passing by in you, and you are something behind it, right? You are the space behind the feelings, behind the thoughts. You are not the things that are going on in the space, you are the space itself. And so I feel like it's the silence. I actually just finished a silent retreat, so for me it was a
Oh,
very big
wow.
opening. I was in
Wow.
silence for 5 full days. So
Wow.
it was really, I felt like my crown was blasting, the connection to the divine, and we were in nature as well. So it was just really such an empowering experience, and to even really on a deeper level connect to your essence, to who you really are, and to feel the interconnectedness with everyone else in silence, feeling like, wow, we are actually all one. So it was a really, really great experience. So I feel like silence is a
Mhm.
big one when it comes to opening the crown. But yeah, any kind of meditation, prayer, or just focusing on the divine, focusing on the oneness or contribution to the world, being of service to the world, like really treating another person as a part of you, like divine love, right? Taking someone as a part of
Mhm.
you, being of service to them can also um, yeah, help it. Like even the visualization, how you're feeding the poor people, or just how you're contributing with your love to others, treating them as one with you. So oneness chakra Wi-Fi. All right, we have gone through all of them now. Amazing. I'm just so excited. And so the last little question that I have to you, if someone would like to maybe sign up for a Reiki session or get coached by you, what is the best way to find you?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I have my website on my Instagram. My Instagram is at Lindsay Alita, LindsayAleta, and my website is lindsayalita.com. And so there's a calendar where you can book directly a Reiki session, a discovery call as well. So if you're interested in coaching for Reiki, I also do distance Reiki, but I also have in person if you're in the Wilmington, North Carolina area. But yeah, so check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. You can always DM me on Instagram as well, and um, I look forward to hearing from everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you so, so much for this conversation. It was great. I just love talking about
Thank
chakras so
you.
much. And yeah, I love talking about it so much that we have even our own names for it, Like that's how much I love talking about it. So I'm
Yeah,
super grateful for you and for
that's
this chat.
awesome.
So thank you so, so much, really, for
I'm so
sharing
grateful for
yourself and your
you. Thank
beautiful
you.
energy. Thank you. Thank you so, so much for listening to us. I just love talking about chakras. And remember, ass chakra, kid chakra, cheeky chakra, hugger chakra, chakra blah blah, third forehead chakra, and chakra Wi-Fi. These are our new names. Adopt it if you wish, because they are quite funny. And if you'd like to find SoulFam Podcast on Instagram, it's We Are SoulFam. And I am The Connection Catalyst. If you just type it on Instagram, you will find me as well if you'd like to contact me. So thank you so, so much for tuning in, and stay tuned to the next episode.